So why I'm on slavevoyages.org and I come across this. Select a database of enslaved people to search. You got African origins and you got oceans of kinfolk. Is it just me or I never knew that? Y'all knew that? The Oceans of Kinfolk database provides personal details of more than 63,000 enslaved African Americans forcibly transported to the New Orleans from various ports in the United States during the 19th century. Pan-Africans, why aren't you searching this database? And the fact that there's two choices is telling you people were here already. There should be a paper that reflects the information that they uploaded to the internet. So why I can't click on anything, right? This is the cosigner. This is the owner. I'm just supposed to take this and run with it, right? We supposed to take this and run with it. Federal Writers Project and the WPA.
All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well and taught us his truth. Peace and salutation, as always, to the elect. Okay, this is Brother Thabo A'ah coming back to you with another lesson in the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being the true name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahweh Shai being the true name of the Heavenly Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. Okay, in this lesson, the title of this lesson will be roughly to this extent. Israelites were the first people in America. Oh, the Northern Kingdom were the first people in America. You know, roughly to that extent. I might tweak it out and change it, but it's going to be dealing with this video as we just watched, you know, on this woman going on about how there was another slave trade that was taking place, you know, before the transatlantic slave trade, you know, dealing with the indigenous people, you know, the Native Americans, you know, the Indians, you know, and whatnot, you know, and what we're going to go into is understanding who those people are that were in over here in America when they were, you know, forcefully taken out of this land. OK, so we're going to be dealing with how we got to that point. OK, so first scripture I want to start out with is 1 Kings 11, and we'll read a few verses right here and then we'll jump up. The title is Solomon Turns from the Most High. Okay, and once we start to get into this and we read it more, you'll see why I started right here. Okay, this is 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 1. It says, "But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which Yahweh said unto the children of Yasharallah, Ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. And his wives turned away his heart." And when you go into that word heart, the Hebrew word is la'ab, okay, which means your mind. Okay. Verse 4 says, "For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his mind after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with Yahweh his power, and was the heart of David his father." Okay. So verse 5, "For Solomon went after Astoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and went not fully after Yahweh as did David his father." So Solomon eventually ended up going off, you know, following after these other gods, okay, of these women, okay. And then when you jump down to we'll start at verse 29. What we're going to get into right here is because of Solomon's disobedience, the two kingdoms will end up becoming divided. Okay, so this is 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 29. This is, and it came to pass at the time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem that the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it into 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith Yahweh, the power of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon. Now, when you go into that word rend, the Hebrew word is qara'ai, qara'ai. Okay, it means to cut out, to tear. Okay, to split, be split asunder. So there was going to be a split. Okay, then it says, and will give 10 tribes to thee. So Jeroboam would receive the 10 tribes. Okay, and what? But he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, because they have forsaken me and have worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways to do that which is right in mine eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgments, as did David his father. Howbeit, I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life for David my servant's sake, whom I choose, because he kept my commandments and my statutes. But I will take the kingdom out of the son's hand, and will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes. And unto his son I will give one tribe, that David my servant may have a light always before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen to put my name there. Okay, so there would be a split between the 12 tribes. Okay, 10 tribes. It would be the 10 tribes, okay, the northern kingdom, and then, you know, Judah and Benjamin, okay, the southern kingdom. You see? So this is where, the split, well, this is where it was told that the split would happen. Okay, and then when you go to the next chapter, okay, when you go to the next chapter and you go down to around verse 16, it says the kingdom divided, Jeroboam rules Israel. Okay, and just to get more insight on these, Israel wanted less labor in a sense, or less taxation. There was a taxism, okay, and hard labor, okay, and the king of Solomon's son, okay, Rehoboam, didn't want to relieve them. Okay, let's just say it like that. Let's read a little bit into it. Okay, let's start right here. Verse 9, it says, and he said unto them, what counsel give ye that we may answer this people who have spoken to me, saying, make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter? You see? And the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, thus shalt thou speak unto the people that spake unto thee, saying, thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it lighter unto us. Thus thou shalt say unto them, my little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. And now, whereas my father did lade you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father had chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. Okay, so he didn't want to make it lighter. And so Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king had appointed, saying, come to me again the third day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him. And he spake to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, my father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from Yahweh, that he might perform his saying, which Yahweh spake by Ahijah the Shilonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat. Okay, then it says the kingdom divided, Jeroboam rules Israel. So let's start at verse 16. It says, so when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, what portion have we in David? Neither have we an inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Yasharallah, now see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed unto their tents. But as for the children of Israel, which dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. Then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute, and all Israel stoned him with stones, that he died. Therefore King Rehoboam made speed to get him up to his chariot to flee to Jerusalem. So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation and made him king over all Israel. Now remember, we went into 1 Kings the 11th chapter. It was already told that 10 tribes would be given to him. Okay, and Judah would be, given to basically to Rehoboam. Okay, and it says that made him king over all Israel. That there was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only. And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah with the tribe of Benjamin and 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against the house of Yasharallah, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. But the word of the Most High came out to Shemaiah, the man of the Most High, saying, Speak unto Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and unto all the house of Judah and Benjamin, and to the remnant of the people, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, ye shall not go up nor fight against your brethren, the children of Israel. Return every man to his house, for this thing is from me. They hearken therefore to the word of Yahweh and return to depart, according to the word of Yahweh. Okay, so now at this case, now at the point we're at is you have, they ended up rebelling against the house of David, okay, because, Rehoboam wouldn't lift up, make the yoke lighter, okay? But he added more to that yoke, okay? And so they ended up rebelling, okay, and made Jeroboam their king, which was already prophesied, basically, the chapter before. It was already told that was going to happen, okay? After Solomon's death, it was already told that was going to happen. After Solomon died, that was already going to happen. You see? Then it goes into Jeroboam's idolatry. He ended up, following after other gods. And then the northern kingdom ended up following after those gods too. Okay, so Jeroboam led them astray. You see? You can continue reading, but now let's jump to 2 Kings the 17th chapter. Now this is a big leap we're taking right here, okay? And when you look up, I looked up how long was 1 Kings 12 to 2 Kings 17 years. Oh, well, let me rephrase that. It just gave this to me, Salaki. Well, let's see. Well, when I looked it up before, it said it roughly around 260 years. It's 1 Kings 12 to 2 Kings 17. Yeah, so, it doesn't tell me no more, but it did just show. Maybe if I go back. Yeah, I don't want to tell me. But yeah, it was around 260 years. When I looked it up, it said it was roughly around that extent. So from 1 Kings, the 11th and 12th chapter to about, 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, it's 260 years. So we're jumping about 260 years now. Okay. 2 Kings 17, it says, Hosea reigns over Israel. And we'll start at verse 1. It says, in the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hoshea became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to So king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria, and as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in the harbor by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes. Okay, then now it's going to explain why Israel fell, why Israel went into captivity. Okay, so it says, for so it was that the children of Israel sinned against Yahweh their power, which had brought them out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in their statutes of the heathen. You know, Jeremiah 10:2 says, learn not the ways of the heathens, or thou shalt not have no other gods before me. Okay, you know, so they were following after other gods, okay, following after their ways. And since whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel and of the kings of Israel, which they had made. It says, and the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against Yahweh their power, and they built them in high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up on images and groves in every high hill and under every green tree. And there they burnt incense in all high places, as did the heathen whom Yahweh carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger. You see, so they were just completely being disobedient. Okay, so that's why the Lord, okay, gave them into the hands of the Assyrians. Okay, when you jump to verse 23, it says, and we'll start at 20. It says, and Yahweh rejected all the seed of Israel and afflicted them and delivered them into the hand of spoilers, which was the Assyrians, until he had cast them out of his sight. It says, for he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king, and Jeroboam drave Israel from following the Lord and made them sin a great sin. So remember it was already told that Jeroboam would receive he would get 10 tribes. Okay, then he eventually led the 10 tribes astray. Okay, and then what? It says, for the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them. You see, so they didn't depart from it. They kept on doing evil. You see, so it says, until Yahweh removed Israel out of his sight, as he said, by all his servants the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. So he's basically turned his face from them, you see, and gave them into the hands of their you could say their enemies. Okay. Now this is a very key important part in what I'm about to go into, because now you have the northern kingdom, in captivity under the Assyrians. Now, when you continue reading, going into the Bible, reading the scriptures, you don't really hear about them too much more after. You will hear about the southern kingdom getting taken into captivity under the Babylonians. Okay, and then eventually, the southern kingdom got taken over by the Babylonians, and you got the Medo-Persians, and you got the Greeks. Now, where is the northern kingdom? Well, when you go into 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, okay, it's going to tell you where they went, because the scriptures, when you continue reading, it'll kind of get that thought like, okay, well, what happened to them after that? Well, the scriptures will tell you. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 13 and verse 40. It says, and I'll start at verse 36. It says, and Zion shall come and shall be shewed to all men, being prepared and builded, like as thou sawest the hill graven without hands. And this, my son, shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations which for their wicked life are fallen into the tempest. And they shall lay before them their evil thoughts and their torments, wherewith they shall begin to be tormented, which are like unto a flame, and he shall destroy them without labor by the law, which is like unto a fire. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land. You see, you remember going back to 2 Kings, the 17th chapter. They ended up getting taken into captivity under the Assyrians. It says, in the time of Hoshea the king, whom Shalmaneser the king of Assyria led away captive, he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took counsel among themselves. You see, so the 10 tribes, the Israelites, took counsel among themselves. Now, people will try to say that all the 10 tribes, every single person within those 10 tribes, okay, Israelite within those 10 tribes, they all went. No, there's some that stood back. Okay, there was a multitude that stood back. Okay, and whatnot. Okay, not every single last one of them. but majority of them, okay, went. Okay, it says, but they took counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. And what further country would that be? That would be talking about America. Okay, because when you go back into history and you start aligning these things, you start to see, okay, well, there was people over here in America when Christopher Columbus came with with the Hebrew interpreters. Okay, there was people over here. Okay. And the stated facts, those were indigenous, as they call them, indigenous people that were over here. Now, who were there, those indigenous people? Well, there's a lot of answers being thrown out, but they're all the wrong answers. Those were Hebrew Israelites. Okay. And when you continue reading, it'll make more sense. Okay. This 2 Ezra 13 and 41, it says, but they took counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. It says, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then shewed them signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, in the same region is called Arsareth, which is America. Okay. It says, then dwelt they there unto the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come. Who shall begin to come? Well, that would be the southern kingdom, because remember, they were already there. Then eventually the southern kingdom would have been brought over there. That's the transatlantic slave trade. Okay? You see? But remember what that woman said. There was 2 slave trades. Now, what is she talking about? Well, there was a slave trade before the transatlantic slave trade, and I was dealing with the indigenous people, because when you actually go into history and you start reading, you'll see that the Europeans came over to the America. Okay, they ended up, I'm gonna roughly summarize it. They made treaties with them, deals and whatnot, and they ended up breaking treaties, those same treaties and deals. They slaughtered a lot of the indigenous people, killed a lot of them. Okay. And sent, forcefully sent, shipped, some of the indigenous people to these, to different islands. Okay. It'll tell you right here. It says, was the indigenous people taken out of their own land to the different islands forcefully? It says, yes, many indigenous people in North America were forcefully taken from their lands and sent to the Caribbean and enslaved laborers during the colonial period. European colonizers, including the British, Spanish, and French, enslaved Native Americans, often as prisoners of war, and were transported them to the Caribbean, which they were sold into slavery alongside Africans. Which when it says Africans, it's really talking about the Southern Kingdom. Okay, it says forced removal and enslavement of indigenous people to the Caribbean. Okay, let's just go down. It says, I want to go down right here. Conclusion. Yes, indigenous people were forcefully removed from their islands and transported to Caribbean islands like Barbados, Jamaica, and Cuba, where they were enslaved. This is why the scriptures talk about in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, where it goes into the curses, how we would be scattered. Okay, let's grab that real quick. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64. How we would be scattered among all nations. Okay, it says, and Yahweh shall scatter thee among all nations from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So we would be scattered among all nations. Now, when you're reading this, it starts to give you an understanding on this was the northern tribes, okay, or the northern kingdom, where it's talking about, yes, indigenous people were forcibly removed from their lands and transported to Caribbean islands like Barbados, Jamaica, Cuba, where they were enslaved. You see? So they were, they ended up getting shipped to all these different islands. And this was part of this, okay, was before that transatlantic slave trade even, came through. And around when the transatlantic slave trade also came through. But this was happening, okay? That's why when that woman, okay, this woman basically said, oh, well, there was 2 transatlantic slave trades. There was. Or 2 slave trades, like, not transatlantic, but 2 slave trades, yes. When you put it in that sense, yes, there was. Okay? With the indigenous people. Okay? And I want to pull out a couple scriptures, then I'll close out. Let's get Micah chapter 2, verse 2. Okay, this is Micah chapter 2, verse 2, and it says, I'll start at verse 1. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. It says, and they covet fields and take them by violence. What does it mean to covet? It says, the Hebrew word is chamad. Okay, it says delight, to take pleasure in, to delight, to desire. You see? And take them by violence. You see, so they delight, okay, and they take them by violence. So they don't take them peacefully, they take them by violence, and houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. And didn't they oppress a man in his house when the Europeans, or the so-called white people, came to America, okay? You know, made treaties, made deals with the indigenous people, ended up breaking those deals, okay? Slaughtering, killing a lot of Native Americans, really Israelites, okay? Shipping them over to different islands, okay, and completely taking their land, okay, forcefully. You see? And that brings me to another scripture, Sirach 8 and Sirach 10 and 8, if I'm not mistaken. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, okay, injuries and riches got by deceit. Now, what does that sound like? Who does that sound like? The so-called white man, okay? Because the Europeans that came over here was the so-called white man, so-called white people. You see, the kingdom is translated from one people to another, okay? So, Lord willing, this was edifying. Before I close off, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Chakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule and teach you and taught us his truth. Peace and salutation, as always, to the elect. Shalom.